We're here with the author, Dating Without Delusion, Jay Parker. Jay, what is one advice that you would give to your younger self?
To my younger self, I would have tried to figure out who I was. Instead of trying to create myself, I should look inside myself and figure out who I am. And who I am has got to be expressed in my values, my spiritual values, my family relationship values, my professional values. Because if you don't have values, you can talk yourself into all kinds of craziness. The idea is when you have values and you're committed to them, they will guide your life. And ideally, you'll recognize that those values came from God.
Got it. And then you're the author of this wonderful book. What will be 3 points that you will summarize about this book?
Divorce is killing our country.
That's a
And
good
so
point.
we've all been damaged from probably divorced households and that kind of thing.
Sure.
We've got to recover from that stuff. But
I love that.
the recovery is all about discovering who you are. That's the number one thing.
And number 2? What's your number 2? What is your number 2? So number 1 is divorce is killing us, our
is
country.
killing us.
Yeah, and I see so much divorce out there in society.
So
Anybody who is not divorced is like, oh man, that's surprising.
Yes, it is surprising.
Especially in American culture.
Yeah.
I see less in the Chinese culture at the moment.
Okay,
Yeah.
so but the thing is that when you are raised in a divorced household, there's all kinds of fallout and difficulties that are going to be pushed
see
at
that.
you
I
from
can
the
see that. Yeah.
from the dysfunction.
Yeah.
But the saving reality is that God has made us specifically with certain gifts and callings, and if we apply those the right way, your life becomes fulfilled.
Sure.
And that is the key to living a decent life.
And what's your second point on the book? Number
well,
1 is divorce.
well, okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
What's
so
second
then
advice?
Yep. The third advice would be, look, in a typical relationship, it's got to evolve. And the
Relationship got to evolve.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so basically, when you first meet somebody and you don't have your personal values, you can create all kinds of dysfunction and whatnot. But when you start building the relationships on solid values, then you are positioned to be able to date somebody and figure out whether or not you and she or you and he really can work together, right?
Yeah.
And so the relationship phases really, you have to understand where you are in the relationship, because relationships that just immediately start up through all kinds of sexual activity and whatnot,
Sure.
those things blow up very, very easily. And so
Right.
the idea is to sequentially build your relationships and know where you stand.
Got it.
And when you get nearer to a committed relationship where you're seeing only that other person,
Yeah.
that's the time when you've got to start talking about the difficult things in your life before you get married.
What would you say some of the solid values?
Mine?
Yeah, sure.
My number
In
one
marriage, yeah. Probably God.
Well, my number 1 is Spirit Abiding Man of Christ. There's a
Right.
whole story behind that. My number 2 is I've been called to encourage singles to become the people that God has made them to be.
And that's why you have this
Yes.
group that you're leading
Yes,
and
right.
the book that you wrote.
Right. Number 3 is know, speak, and live the 10 Commandments.
I see.
And those are life changers if you look at them with some intelligence. And one of the key things we do is we flip the knots.
Awesome.
So it says, you shall not steal, for example. Well, guess what? You take that knot out of there. Now, you shall give sacrificially, pointed in the right direction with your giving. And it's a whole different way of looking at that commandment, but it's in some ways it's more powerful.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to learn more from you, Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.